Hey guys, the Chief Asch here today to talk to you about another movie review for OctoberQuest. Today I will be reviewing a movie I found on Netflix called Haunter, which is a movie that seems to have both users and critics divided on the quality of the movie. I didn't know it at the time. Admittedly, I was kind of scrolling through Netflix looking for a movie that may or may not be super terrible, and I read the plot. I read the synopsis to this, and the synopsis is interesting. I'm not gonna lie, but it just seemed like one of those things that a filmmaker would drop the ball with. And some people would say they did. Some people would say they didn't. It's divided. I didn't know it at the time. I saw it. I was like, "There's no way," and I watched it. And movie's made in 2013. Right? So it's relatively more recent. And the idea is that this girl finds out, she realizes she's dead. Pretty early on in the movie. Actually, that's essentially how the movie starts. She knows she's dead. And she ends up contacting the living. And it's this interesting look at like how ghosts almost like find people and haunt people in a way. And it's like the ghosts are haunted by a ghost, and it has a rather complex plot, which I found really interesting, and I found a lot of the acting is pretty awesome. The weaknesses in this movie are very it's really just the effects. There's a lot of little CG works and stuff like that kind of ruin it a little bit, but it doesn't kill the whole movie. It's a movie that's definitely worth a watch, and it's debatably a really good movie. It has it in its situation. It deals with I best to say multiple universes, and I feel like for the complexity presented by the plot, this dead girl contacting the living, and then she actually ends up contacting other dead people throughout the movie. It handles it very well, and it's to me. So many people are so down the line with it. I would be on the positive side of this movie because of how well this complex plot was handled. And I saw some of the reviews. I was reading some people's reviews on it, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, the fuzzy plot," stuff like that. And I felt like the plot was really solid, and everything kind of answered itself, and it did it in such a way that wasn't confusing, and it was kind of obvious as to what was going on throughout the whole thing. And there was one part where I was like, "Wait, why did you do that?" And then she didn't even have to do anything else. I literally just had to come upon it. I was like, why did she just do that? Like, and I might even had that 5 seconds that thought of like, that was stupid. And then I thought about it, and I was like, oh, I see what she's doing. And so it totally catches itself anytime you can fall into something like that. And the main girl that plays Lisa, she does a pretty good job all the way around. The acting in this movie is very solid. I was very surprised to see that. It's just the killer of this movie is just some of the CG effects, and it's a movie that you can't just have on the background. You need to pay attention to the movie because it does kind of have a complex plot, and it hops between times for a little bit, which is interesting because, like I said, it's multiple universes. But really what it is it's different time periods that a specific character in the movie goes through, and it doesn't. I guess it doesn't count as handling time travel, but I feel like the time jumps, the universe jumps, whatever you want to call them, I feel like they were handled rather well. It's an enjoyable movie, and there's a lot to it, and I don't really get where the title comes from. That's one of the main things that attracted my eye to the movie. It's a Haunter. It's just it's kind of an odd title for it. I feel like there's a million other things that could have been a title for it that worked. But it's an interesting movie. It has some great shots. Yeah, there is I feel like one thing when I was watching it, I thought this many times, is that as much as I feel like it is a decent movie, I feel like the director was experimenting a lot with this movie. So there's a couple shots that I feel like the director tried to use for effect, and they weren't effective. They were just weird. Weird as in they really had no purpose. There were some weird shots in a washing machine, and I saw it once, and I was like, man. And I saw it. My first thought of it was like, man, so he's experimenting with shots, and this failed, and then he does the same shot twice more. which that's definitely not like you didn't realize that didn't work the first time. There's a couple jump scare attempts in the movie, and I don't feel like the jump scares were super effective. This is definitely more of an atmospheric, creepy kind of movie, and the director should have kind of run on it. But I feel like the flaws of this movie really come from the CG use and the director's attempt at, I guess, some experimental shots, some RC shots. Some of them don't quite make it, but but for the most part, other than these, the shots really stick out, right? Like, you can tell that it's something. And I feel like the cinematography in the movie, for the most part, is pretty solid. The sound design is pretty nice. There's a part towards the end where they just use this filter with this border. I hiccuped when I said border, and I said boulder. But I assure you that there are no giant rocks in this movie. Spoiler alert. A border. It has a weird, like, antique border, and the idea, I guess, was that she went back so far in time and wanted to represent it with a filter, which didn't work. It didn't work, but beyond that, like, what's going on screen is really awesome, but the border is just, like, it doesn't get it. So you lose points on this movie for CG. You lose points on this for some of the cinematography, because it was an attempt in some way, and it kind of failed. But beyond that, the movie's pretty decent, and I would definitely check it out if you're looking for a movie to get in, have like a little mind thing, and have a couple fun little jumps. Have a couple, because you do kind of get caught up in the story, and it can be a bit of a thriller. So it's definitely worth to check out. And I don't feel like this is a super popular movie. I've never heard of it. I'm probably because it has that almost demand and decreased popularity because of the title. When you hear Haunter, you don't think about, that could be some girl, some dead chick. That's the ghost haunting humans. No, you think of the purple Pokemon that everybody loves because he's one of the most badass Pokemon, and he deserves that name. So you don't, it's not one of those things you're attracted to, but I definitely would check the movie out. 2013 film Haunter. So this has been the Chief Asch on another OctoberQuest review, and keep watching.